friends. Welcome
Hello.
to episode 12 of the Unleashed podcast, where a husband and a wife talk about anything and everything because, honestly, we don't have a niche. Welcome, once again, to episode 12. That means we've been doing this for... 12 weeks.
Oh my
3 months.
3 months.
That's kind of weird.
Got like 20 videos on the channel too.
But this week we're going to be a little bit more serious than the last 2 weeks.
First, hit that goddamn subscribe button right now.
Subscribe.
We'll wait.
We'll give you about 10 seconds to just
go click right
click
there.
It. It's
right
literally
there.
probably right down there.
It's right there. Or if you're watching on YouTube, it's like right here. Right there. Come on.
Just click it.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, this week we're going to be a little bit more serious than the last 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about education.
Education.
We're going to be talking about our high school experiences, our college experiences, and kind of comparing the two. But yeah, I will go first. We had very different high school experiences.
I'd agree.
I went to a private Catholic school for all of my life, not just high school, from kindergarten to senior year.
Mm-hmm. I went to public school.
Public school.
Public, like a real loser. Public.
Which, to start off, just saying, someone that went to private school, Catholic school, I had this idea of public school that is probably right for some.
Yeah.
But my brain thought it was all of them. Where, like, at public schools, there's fights all the time. There's cops at all public schools. All of them are, like, scary. Which, like, there are some.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, like, that's the thing. The high school I went to is in a very high-end location. Not
that's
that
what I mean.
We were rich by any means, but we didn't really have that.
Yeah. But, like, that, coming from my background, all I knew was private Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh my God.
It's crazy.
That's scary. But
crazy.
I wore uniforms every day. I wore the black or white shirt and then the black skirt or black pants. My shoes had to be completely black. They could not have anything else other than black. I think the socks could be black or white, but they had to be that.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't anything like that, you got written up.
That's crazy.
Which, the only detention I ever got in high school was for wearing Crocs one day, and it's because they did, like, over the announcement, like, we're doing a spontaneous uniform check, but I never went to that detention, because I was such a quiet kid that...
See, that's such a weird concept for me.
Yeah.
It's like having to wear a uniform. Like, I was the kid that just wore, like, the same thing 2 or 3 days in a row. Mm-hmm. And it was usually like a sweatshirt and shorts. See, and then when I left high school, I did not know how to dress. Yeah,
like,
see, I could see that.
To this day, I still am not great at putting outfits together.
Yeah.
Because for 5 days a week, for 8 hours a day, I wore the same thing.
Every day.
Yeah, and that's from kindergarten to senior year. That's like a whole 18 years of...
That's a long time.
And so, leaving school, I didn't know how to dress.
Then you only really got to dress on your own on, like, the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird concept.
And we would... Funny concept that if you don't go to a school where you uniforms, you don't understand probably as much. But there were out of uniform days.
Oh.
And so, like, there were, like, special days where, like Halloween or something.
Yeah.
Like, you could be out of uniform. And so you could come, and that was the day where everybody wore their best clothing. Yeah. You, like, saved special outfits for those days.
That's so weird to me.
Which is so funny. But yeah. Going to Catholic school, and I don't know if I'd recommend it. I know that whenever we have kids, I don't know if I'll send them there.
Yeah.
It had its benefits. There was a lot of smaller classes, and so there was definitely probably more attention. But I don't know if it was just the school I went to, or if it's Catholic schools all around. I can't speak to all of them. But I was not popular. I
Mm-hmm.
was very shy in high school. I was not shy. I was just introverted if I didn't know you.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to branch out. But especially like Catholic private schools, there's like a feeding system
Mm-hmm.
where like if you go to these 6 like tiny little schools, you could possibly go to this high school. So like from my school, it came like a bunch of kids from different schools.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, if they were a bigger school, there'd be like cliques.
Yeah.
So going into high school, there would be these groups of people that they've known each other all their lives, and there's like 20 of them, they all know each other. Well, there's just one of me coming from my school.
Oh.
So I didn't know. I knew maybe like one other person, but she left after freshman year.
Yeah.
So it's like, whereas not all public schools, but I'm guessing like yours, a lot of the kids are coming from the same exact school.
Yeah, I would say...
give or take probably some.
Not many, though.
But that's what I mean.
I want to say when we got into high school, it was like 3 or 4 people.
Unless you moved into the city.
Yeah.
A majority of the kids you've known probably all your life.
Yeah.
Which, for me, that's a weird concept from because middle school and grade school, I knew everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But then, it was only me and, like, maybe one other person from my grade school that went to my high school.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know anybody. And so, that was so scary to me.
That's what would be a tough thing for me. It's like, if it works for you, then great. I have no problem with that. But, like, I do feel like in a situation like that, you're kind of hindering a child.
It was hard.
Being able to meet people and actually interact with society in the right way. Like, obviously, I mean that in the nicest way possible, but I could see that being a problem with some people.
Well, because, like I said, there would be kids, because I don't want to name the exact schools, but there were 2 specific grade schools that a lot of kids came from.
Yeah.
So there was like a bunch of them that would come into this.
See,
that they all knew each other.
I feel like if it's...
And so that was so hard.
You're in one school, it should just stay that class
Yeah.
and move up. Like, instead of merging a bunch of schools into one. But
that's how Catholic schools work.
I know,
it's not like just a one
weird
big feeder school.
For me.
There's like a bunch that all these kids could come from because you don't have to live in a district.
Yeah.
I lived 30 minutes away, maybe 30-ish minutes away from my high school. There was a kid in my class, I went to school in St. Paul, there was a kid in my class who drove from, where's the one prison up north? Not Moose Lake. Lina Lakes.
Lina Lakes, yeah.
He drove from Lina Lakes every day.
Jesus.
Like, you didn't have to live in the district. You could come from anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it was just like that.
Well, and like the school I went to, you didn't have to live in the district. Like.
But a lot of public schools, you have to live within a certain district to go to the school.
Or within 15 minutes of the school.
Which is beneficial because then all of your friends are most likely within that vicinity.
Yes.
My friends in high school, the ones that I did have, could live anywhere.
Right.
One of my best friends in high school lived in Burnsville. And that was a good 45 minutes from my house.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like, I wasn't popular, weird. And so it was really hard to make friends. Then during high school, my senior year, so I had a group of decent, solid friends up until like junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Then senior year, some stuff went down, so I had to like kind of switch gears and make other friends. They were already friends I had, but like then they became like my top friends, if that makes sense. Like, they're like, the B team became the A team.
Yeah.
And then halfway through senior year, B team was like, no, bye-bye. And then C team had to become A team with like the last 2 months of senior year. So I kind of didn't enjoy high school.
Yeah.
For a lot of it. And like most other teenagers, mental health stuff really became a huge factor. Struggled with that. And I wasn't like a smart kid either, where like a lot of my friends were. I was never a smart kid. I was in like average kid classes. I wasn't in like the dumb kids, but I wasn't like okay. That's why I said this, because that's so dumb. I don't like that. It's like that's how school is.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
Yep.
But I wasn't a smart kid. I was like average. But some of my favorite classes in high school were like art classes and English classes. I just felt like, art, self-expression. I could express myself in other ways where like I didn't have to be smart.
Yeah.
I didn't have to know the equation. I could just do art and it was good. But one of my favorite classes ever in high school was this religious / social justice class, which I've told you about before.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, it was this class where it was my very first. Well, I think it was my second class of the day, but it was like in the same period of like first. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't matter. But there was weekly topics every week, and they were a social justice class, and so it could be like homelessness, drugs, prison, race, all of these like social justice issues we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really cool. And the teacher was so cool. He was like this. He This is gonna sound mean, but like he looked nerdy.
Yeah.
Like no one would be like he's a cool teacher, but he was so cool. He was so relatable, and usually every week or every other week we would have one speaker come in, talk about the topic, and we do like journal entries, and those entries you could write about anything. He'd give you a topic, but you didn't have to stick to it.
Right.
And you got an A just as long as you turned it in.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of my favorites, and that really changed my course into going to college. Can you ever talk about your high school experience now that...
Yeah, I definitely had quite a different high school experience. Well,
just in the school concept alone.
Yeah, so like I moved to I guess to my hometown, if you want to say that.
Well, so when you were little, you lived there, and then you moved to somewhere else for a couple years, then you moved back.
So when I was little, before I went to school, I was like in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
I moved back, and that was like halfway through middle school, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everybody that I knew there was pretty much still.
Yeah, all of the friends you'd already kind of known were already still there.
And yeah, they followed all through. I can't actually really think of anybody, and then I swip out, of importance that left.
Yeah.
And it was quite a bit different. It is nice to have, the same group of friends for the longest time, like all through high school. And the friend groups, I kind of like shifted between who I was more friends with while I was trying to figure out who I was.
Not to interrupt, but I feel like that happens a lot in school. Like, I remember when I was in middle school and stuff, depending on who was in my classes the most, that's who I hung out with a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, like, it happens.
It's funny enough, the people that I was friends with in middle school are the people that I'm friends with now. Like, my best man, one of my other groomsmen, we all kind of separated a little bit, not like hated each other, not friends, but we just kind of stopped talking and like
not stopped talking per se, but
communicated less and like hung out less and hung out with different groups of people.
You still stayed in like touch, but it wasn't the same.
It was like we kind of all went our separate directions, and like our aesthetic, like I went through the phase of wanting to be this. The easiest way I can describe it is like a stoner kid, but without the stoner part.
But you weren't smoking. You were just a part of that aesthetic.
A part of that aesthetic, and I kind of went away from that when I realized that's not me.
But I feel
now,
like
all the people that I was friends with in middle school, I'm still friends with. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, especially like your best man, we won't name drop him without consent.
I think we already have.
We probably already have, but it doesn't matter. But like your best friend in our wedding, you were still like good friends with him in high school. Like, you guys still did a lot. You still hung out weekly.
Yeah, I mean, I met him in middle school playing pickleball, and
you guys have been best friends for years.
Yeah, it never really stopped after that.
Which is so cute.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on the other side of things, so the school I went to, they're very caring of their scores.
Yeah, like their scores and how they come across.
And I will say they're one of the top in the state. I guess I don't know where they are now, but when I was in high school, they were like the top. And it made it hard education-wise. Because, especially in high school, I was not very good at school. And I'll get more into that later when we get to the college part. But I wasn't great. And so, for them to get their scores up, they would keep me in the same, as you called it, the dumber classes.
Well, that's how, when you're in high school...
that's how everybody describes it.
That's how everyone describes it. That's not, realistically... I don't feel that way.
Yeah, no.
But when you're in school, that's how everyone sees it. And it's just like, it's such a defeating feeling.
Yeah, it is. And like now that I'm older, I don't really care.
No,
I actually like to talk about it, but...
But when you're in that environment, anxiety is already so high.
Yeah.
Self-esteem is...
And it was kind of funny because where I was going with the friend group thing is most of my friends were in the high classes. They were in the highest classes. And then there's me down there. Which that's where I started to hang out with, I guess, the quote-unquote stoner kids.
Yeah, because we're around them.
A lot of them were in the grades.
Mm-hmm.
And so what my school would do is to keep their scores decent and not look so bad, they would keep the same kids in the same class. It wouldn't go up a level. So
You took
it was
all the
really
same
funny.
math.
Freshman year, English or whatever, English, something else, social studies, and some other classes were the exact same classes all 4 years. So I
It's
knew
so
the
sad.
curriculum.
Yeah.
There was even one year where I loved my English teacher, Miss Brenning. I don't know if she's still alive. She was like 90 when I was there, but
Rest in peace.
she was amazing. I loved her. But one year I was like, I didn't want to do one of my reports.
Well, you've done it 10 other times.
So guess
Why
what
the
I
fuck
did?
Do you want to,
I
you do
took
the
my
same
freshman one and resubmitted it. I got the exact same score. And I don't know if she ever noticed. She never said anything. But yeah, so that made it really
Yeah.
tough because...
That's an example of your school literally failing you.
Yeah, and that absolutely affected my grades and stuff like that because I was like, oh, I'm in the dumb classes. They're keeping me in the same stupid class all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It killed my motivation. I sucked in high school. 100%.
Something else I want to say, though. Anyone that knows us, well, I guess maybe just I will say this because I know you really well. You may not be traditionally book smart.
Oh, yeah.
You are so street smart.
I'll take
When
that.
it comes... I'm going to cry. But, like, when it comes to, like, real-life problems
Mhm.
and, like, solving, like, worldly things, you're so good at.
Yeah.
And so it's, like, it makes me so sad to think, like, your school failed you. Like,
Oh, yeah, they did. And it sucked because my counselors, who are supposed to be there to help you,
yeah, they're supposed to
they were
help
terrible.
you figure out your path.
They were absolutely terrible.
That makes
They
me
were
so
like,
sad.
I remember one year I had to sign up for a language course, so I went to go take Spanish. I didn't do good the last year, the year before that. And my counselor literally goes, no, let's not do that. That's a bad idea. You can't, you're not very good at that, so let's try something else. So I went into
That's
French.
heartbreaking.
That sucked. Like that. So I will preface this by saying I graduated high school with a 1.0. No joke.
And that's because, one, your school failed you.
Yeah.
They didn't try to see you succeed at all. They were like, we know you're gonna pass this. Just stay doing
you're
that.
at the bottom of the tier. We're gonna keep you there
yeah.
while your scores are halfway decent, so we don't look bad.
Exactly. Instead of giving you the resources
Yep.
to succeed.
It's a great school if you're a really good student.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% will stand by that. But yeah, so my counselors sucked. They were not great. But I had two of my science teachers. They were basically counselors for me, and they were like the best thing ever. And what's really funny is that I killed in those classes. I was so good in those classes. And if anybody goes to said school and knows what I'm talking about, they have a class called conceptual physics. I was actually the first kid signed up when they first made that curriculum, so I was there for the first year. I was the top in that class the whole time they had that class. And that right there should show you something. Like, that if you're going to treat me like shit, then I'm probably going to be like shit.
Yeah, well, they were directly affecting your self-esteem. They were pretty much telling you, you're stupid.
Yeah.
We're going to keep you in these stupid classes. How is that going to make anyone feel?
And it just makes you feel so worthless.
Yes.
And so I'm going to jump ahead just a hair, but for anybody that's dealing with that, like, if you decide to go to college, you can completely turn that around. So
It's
the
different.
3-4 years I went to college, okay, I didn't graduate, but we'll get to that.
Dropped out of college twice.
We'll get to that. There's reasons. But all throughout college, all the years I was there, I had the lowest GPA I had was a 3.8. My average was like 4. And so that should fucking show you something. Like, and it just absolutely pisses me off that I probably could have done this in high school. But because of the way I was treated and like shown at the bottom, I just left myself there because I was like, well, I'm worthless, so I might as well stay worthless.
Well, yeah, if all of your teachers and counselors, except maybe a few, are pretty much telling you you're worthless, you're gonna start to think, I'm worthless.
And it sucks because a lot of the people that I had in those lower classes, I see where they are now, and it makes me really sad because I know
because they were given the same
most
message.
of them just stuck with that. They didn't try to change it and like try to prove themselves, which I'm happy I did, but it makes me really sad to see some of these people who were in those classes have now, gone on and done different things, and it
because
sucks
they were
too.
given the same message as you.
Yeah.
And they didn't try to pursue anything else.
And this story still always gets to me. There's a kid that sat behind me in this English class, and he was like the nicest kid ever. He was super cool. He definitely stuck with, I'm at the bottom, let's just stay there.
Mhm.
And I could see that in his like outside life. And eventually he went on, let's just say he had a really rough night and drank a little too much, and
It just hit where the story's
yeah,
going.
and he offed somebody. Not necessarily on purpose, but it happened.
It happened.
And it sucked to see because he was seriously like one of the coolest kids there. He was so flippin' nice. And the kid that I saw there could not see him doing that. But it's like this happened just after high school. And
Mhm.
he had it. Like he could do really good. He was like a volunteer firefighter and like all this stuff. And
Mhm.
because of school and making himself feel worthless, at least this is my opinion, he just didn't try to go any farther. He just kind of left himself there, and that happened, and now he's gone. He's in jail for the rest of his life. I think
Yeah.
till he's 60.
That's
And it's
sad.
so sad to see. And a lot of the kids in that school, in that class, are doing the same thing. And it's like, I can see the difference because, especially me being friends with both sides of it,
Mhm.
they're the same people. Like, they can both be exactly the same.
Mhm.
But a lot of the kids who were higher up, you know, their families are a little more wealthy, and so they had more opportunity, and so they got that opportunity to be better. But these kids in like my class, they didn't have that opportunity, and that just absolutely was so heartbreaking. But yeah, so I'll get off that horse, but it sucks. It sucks to see, and it sucks to go through.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm really happy I was able to turn that around, but I wish everybody could do that. I wish the school wouldn't have done that. Like, at least give kids the chance.
Yeah.
There was no chance.
Give them the resources they need.
It was like, if you didn't do good in freshman year, you were done for the rest of the year.
Which
like
is
the rest
really
of your high school
because
high school is so important. Like
people can change.
Yeah.
I remember, especially with freshman versus senior year. So people changed so much.
Oh yeah.
People that
Yeah.
I never thought would do theater were fucking doing plays
Mhm.
senior year. So it's just like high school is a place where you're supposed to express yourself and learn more about yourself, and the
Yeah.
fact that your school was just like, you're dumb, fuck you, stay here and don't fail.
And a lot of the kids that I was in these classes with were really, really smart people. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the things they did that weren't school related, they were really
Well,
good
yeah,
at.
when
like,
it came
really
to schools
smart.
and books and stuff like that, they probably
Yeah.
weren't at the top. But when it came to like real life situations
Mhm.
and other things where they could probably be creative,
Yeah.
they probably were great at it.
Yeah. And it's like and what's really funny is that now that I'm almost basically 10 years out of high school at this point,
Essentially, yeah.
which is nuts to think
Because
about. But
you would have turned 18 after high school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, you're 10 years
so
removed.
10 years. A lot of the kids that were at the top of the classes aren't doing much right now. There's a lot of them that, and that's okay. Like, I don't
Mhm.
care. But there's a lot of them that are not doing so hot. Like, and
Well,
some of
yeah.
them are doing great. Like, one of my friends is, you know, my best man. We'll go with him first. He's a pilot,
Mhm.
so he's doing really good for himself. Then I have another friend who's also in the same classes as him, and his life isn't so great. And it
Well-
sucks because he is one of those people who is really book smart, but not street smart.
Well, and that's another problem with certain aspects of high school
Mm-hmm.
is I feel like people put a lot of stakes
Yes.
into high school
Yeah.
and getting good test scores, getting the best grades, getting into all of this, and then when you're all the way up here, there's nowhere else to go.
Yep. Exactly. So when they
Which
get out of high school,
They don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Like a lot of book smart people love them to death, but then
Mhm.
they get out of school and they're like, oh shit.
They don't know how to be real
They
people.
don't know how to like.
And it's like all these people are in these really smart classes. They, like you said, they go out of high school to get a normal job and don't know how to do it. And that's the part that ruins it. It's not necessarily that they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how, they're really smart with what they're doing, but they don't know how to act necessarily. They're only used to the school. But then you see these people who get jobs right out of high school instead of going to college first. and they are doing great. Like, they succeed and get really far in life. And so that's why high school in general is a really tough thing for me, because I see the pros and cons of it. But sometimes I worry that there's way too much stake, like you just said, stake in high school being so important.
Well, yeah, people, yeah.
It is. Don't get me wrong. It's really important, but I can tell you personally that whatever happens with high school, you can absolutely turn that around. You can do absolute shit. I think out of the 300 something kids in our school, I was like 3 from the bottom. And I'm doing better than 90% of those people.
Speaking of that, I would have loved to, I never looked at, I don't know if my school even released the whole ranking of our grade. I would have loved to know where I was.
That was so defeating. So the way it showed, you'd get like your end of the year report, like your grade report.
Sure.
Why can't I think of what that's called?
Report card?
Report card. That's the word. And they would say somewhere on there, it would show
where your ranking was?
It'll show
every year.
Yeah, and so
ours didn't.
But they wouldn't tell you what it was out of. But they would say like student score or student rank or something like that, and we knew how many people were in the class. Like, it's very obvious. And yeah, I was always in the high 200s out of 300. Like, I knew we were just about 300.
I would love to know where I was.
I don't like that. I don't think that was a good idea.
No, personally. I'm not saying all 4 years.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I feel like that is not something that should be on a report card.
No.
That's just making you look terrible for no reason. Like, anybody could have multiple reasons why they aren't where they are in the list,
Well, yeah, family things.
And then you see the kid who's like number 1. That's just going to get in their head. It's going to be terrible.
Well, yeah, it's just the ranking thing is stupid.
As you can tell, I have a very big problem with high school sometimes.
But we can move on to college.
Yeah.
So, I went to like a traditional 4-year college. My first semester I started at one school. It was in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. I hated it. I hated that school so fucking much. One, because there was a lot of stuff going on with my family at the time. Like, my mom was pregnant with my siblings. I didn't like being away from everybody. Like, I am very much a family person. Like, I like being around my family. I love spending time with my family. And being, what was it, like 2.5 hours away from my family? I hated that. Yeah. And that was such a time where I was so insecure and so anxious and so, like, I didn't know how to talk to people. Not that I do now. Right. I can fake it a little bit more now, but then being dumped in the middle of nowhere, having a stranger as a roommate, that was really hard for me. Yeah. I did not know how to, so I didn't make any friends when I was there. I maybe made one. She was fucking weird. If you're watching this, I mean no harm. But she wasn't like the kind of people I'm friends with. Yeah. Wasn't the usual person I'm friends with. So after that first semester there, like, literally, my parents will probably remember this, but I was texting them every day, I want to come home. I want to come home. I want to come home. Fucking hated it. And the person I was dating at the time didn't help with that either. He was definitely putting messages in my head of, why are you up there? You're too far. Right. So after my first semester, I transferred to a different school and came back home. So much better. The school I went to was an all-girls school, and I loved it. It was really nice being in an atmosphere, no offense, with no men. Anyone who knows, like, if you've ever gone to, like, an all-girls school or you've had an all-girls class, it brings a different energy. Right. I love boys. I love you. Like, I don't... But men...
I can also say the same, because, like, the college I went to was mostly men.
Yeah, so. Men just bring a certain energy. Where, like, in a traditional classroom with mixed genders, men tend to shout out more. They don't mind taking up space. Right. Men in society have been taught that they can take up space and that's okay, and they don't need to say sorry for it. Whereas women in society, they're taught, make yourself as little as possible. Like, you are tiny, don't make a peep, don't do anything. So going to an all-girls school was so refreshing because, 90% of the time, you'd listen to each other. Right. You would listen to the person talking over here, you'd wait 30 seconds, you'd raise your hand, and then you'd wait to be called on, and then continue. Like, it was people, like, it felt like we all listened to each other, we were collaborating, And it was just also cool being in an environment that it was just so like, yes, women need to get educated. It was just so cool. And I feel like going to a traditional college, it's not the only path, but I do feel like it gave me a lot of lessons in life. Like I learned about timeliness, like being on top of things, knowing the timeline of things, like just knowing whatever. Being organized.
Right.
Communication is really big, like communicating with your teachers, with classmates on projects, stuff like that. I learned a lot about like working with other people and how that's really fucking hard. And then I also learned mainly from the major I was, because I was a social work major, and this was a really big thing that they taught us in a lot of classes, is self-care, taking care of myself. That was a really big thing. But yeah. I liked college.
Right.
It was great for what it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. And again, we're going back to our schooling was quite a bit different.
Very different.
So I went to...
Oh, can I also say?
Yeah.
College, it was never a question. It was a, you're going.
Yes.
For
and
me.
That is something I will also talk about.
It was never... Because junior year, I think it usually starts in high school, is when they're like,
oh,
college!
They throw it down your throat.
They throw it down your throat. In high school, at least when I was, I'm sure they still do it, but they pretty much tell you that's the only option.
Mm-hmm.
And to do anything in your life, you have to go to college. There's like a whole day of it, at least at my school, there was a whole day of it.
Yeah, we had that too.
Where, like, you go
Funny
to
enough,
things.
I didn't go, and I was never told to go.
Oh, that's awkward. But for me, college was never... Well, what do you think? It was, okay, so which college are you going to?
Yes.
Which ones are we applying to?
Mm-hmm.
What's your major going to be? Which I love. I don't mind. I think it taught me a lot of benefits in life, and it does technically put me a step ahead of other people.
Mm-hmm.
But something I've learned being in the workforce, because I graduated over 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, technically I'm a step ahead of all these other people, but I don't have a master's.
Right.
And especially the social work field, which is what I graduated in, to get any money, to really be doing anything in that sort, you need a master's.
Right.
And I just feel like I was lied to back here.
Yes.
That all I needed was a degree.
Yes. That's a huge thing for me, too, is everybody does tell you that. Oh, you have to go to college, you have to do this.
You're pretty much told that's the only option.
I'm telling you, you don't need to.
I think it is so valuable for after high school to take a break.
Get a job. Be normal.
Just figure out who you are as a person.
Yes.
So I think it is ludicrous. At the age of 18, you were told, pick a major. What do you want to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I'm 24 and I still don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
And so the fact that when I was 18, I was just pretty much told, what do you want to do the rest of your life? Figure it out now.
Yeah.
If you don't figure it out within the first year and you take a bunch of classes, then you're fucked.
Yeah, all your time and money is wasted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the shitty part, is I hate that people, and you know what, maybe years ago it was a lot more important, like, and I would agree with that, because employers were probably looking more for that, but now it's experience. It's absolutely experience on the job. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely fields that you do need to go to college for, and that's completely different, but if you're not sure...
Well, I think it depends on the field. Like, the field that you work in...
Yes.
It's not even worth
it, no.
You experience is 9 times out of 10 going to get you way farther than a degree. But whereas... Not even my last job, but anything in my... But whatever.
Yeah.
Anything in the field that I went into, having a degree would put me above people down here.
Right.
But then I started to notice unless you're up here with a master's or something,
you're done. You can't get any farther.
I could find a job in the field, but it wasn't going to make any money.
Yeah.
With me having a degree in that field, a lot of the jobs were like $15 an hour, $17 an hour, which isn't bad, But I have a degree.
Yeah, you should be making more than
And
that.
I was told in high school that all you needed was a degree.
You have a degree, you're instantly gonna make $100,000 a year, blah blah
Which
blah.
is not true.
That's not true at all. And that's probably more to the current job market, but that's not going to change. It's not going to change.
But then if I looked at jobs where you needed a master's, it instantly bumped up to $25 an hour.
Right, exactly.
And it was just like, what? I'm sorry, I can't afford to go to school again full time right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the mental energy. I don't fucking want to.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't.
I wasn't told I needed that. I wasn't told I needed this.
Yes.
But something that I wish I could have had the opportunity to do, which has its benefits and whatever, or not benefits, but I wish I could have taken a gap year.
Mm-hmm.
Just to figure out me more as a person outside of school.
Yeah.
Because anyone who knows, when you go from high school straight to college, I only knew myself as a student. I only knew myself as that. And then I graduated, and last couple of years, you've seen it, I'm really struggling with who I am as a person.
Yeah, and that can really mess you up. If you're forced into it, that can really mess you up. Mm-hmm. If you're making the conscious decision to do that, that's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But if someone's telling you, anybody, your family, friends, they're saying, "Oh, you have to go to college," you don't. If you don't think it's right, do not waste your time, because you could do you're not only wasting your time, but you're wasting a lot of people's time, and that's nothing against you as the person, but it's not worth it.
I think it's really, really important, especially your senior year, to make a list of things you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Try it.
What are you interested in career wise? Mm-hmm. And what do those paths look like? Does it mean education? Does it mean doing a 2-year degree?
Yeah.
Does it mean going to trade school? Does it mean going to this? What does that look like for you?
Right.
And figure it out, and then take a year or 2 years right out of high school to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Try everything. So, like we said a couple episodes ago, it's okay to job hop.
Yes.
It's okay to take the time to figure yourself out, especially when you are 18. You're so young.
Mm-hmm. It's a good time. Yeah. No one's going to judge you on that. They might question you on it, but if you give, I could say that too. If you give it a perfectly good explanation as to why you might have left a job, and if it's not a stupid reason, I can tell you from multiple interviews that I've had and gotten job offers, they don't care. As long as you have a good reason, or you moved or you just decided that wasn't for you, they're actually probably going to respect you more for that, because you're not lying to them.
Well, even my last couple jobs, especially the last 2 years, I've job hopped a lot. I've had a lot of different jobs the last 2 years, which is okay. Mm-hmm. I am a little insecure about it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I've never had an interview with someone go, well, I see you've had all these jobs in the last year. I've never had anybody ask that.
Right.
And if they think that is bad, then that's not the job for you, and that's telling you right off the bat before you even start.
Yeah. I guess I should talk about my college. So my college years were quite a bit different than my high school years. Mm-hmm. So I went to school for HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Again, I found that out by taking a year off of school, and I went to work, and the guys actually that I worked with, a few of them went to school for it, and so I was like, screw it, this looks really interesting, let me try that. And
I feel like it, not to cut you off, it ties into, in school, you were good at science.
Yeah. It's
the same wavelength.
It passed over 100%, and so, college, so I went for a 2-year degree, but it would have been 3 technically, because I took some extra classes. I'll get into that too. But so I went for 2 years, and college was great. I hated high school, but I loved college. I actually had so much fun with it. And that's, again, like you said, probably more because it's a more technical thing, and that's something that I really, I hate to talk about myself like this, but I feel like that's something I'm really good at.
Well, I feel like in college, from what I've noticed, the professors want you to do well.
Yeah.
They actually, they want to see you do well.
Yeah, and that's a huge difference, especially for me. And it was funny, they're talking about being at a girls-only school. So obviously HVAC being the trades, and I have nothing against this, but for the majority it is mostly men.
Mostly men.
And I don't have a problem with that, but that's just how it was. But it was it was a fun atmosphere. I really enjoyed
it's
it.
Bros being bros,
Yeah.
probably.
Our teacher would make like funny men jokes, and we would have fun while we did it, and everybody got to know each other so well, and it was great. Like I hung out with a lot of those people and still kind of talk to some of them, and it was just and I mind you, the school I went to.
Do they watch the podcast?
No, well, I don't know. I guess.
Well, then you don't actually care about them, or they don't care about me.
It was fun. Like, I actually really enjoyed it, and it was just a great time. And like, again, I hate like talking about myself like this, but I turned into basically like the teacher's assistant. Like, a lot of the other kids, if they weren't sure about something, they would come to me, and that was such a different experience for me because I was so used to being in high school and not being that guy, being the guy who had no fucking idea what was going on 90% of the time, to the guy who could figure out whatever the hell everybody else had, and they would come to me. In fact, one time, because we only had 2 professors in the HVAC department, so 90% of our classes were with the same people, the same teacher.
Yeah.
I actually had a teacher come up to me because he asked me, he's like, hey, so did blah, 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 did he copy your assignment? Because it was like all in one area, because we were doing like trying to figure out what's wrong with these units. And I was like, I answered a couple questions for him, but I didn't physically give him the answers. He's like, it's weird because he's been doing really bad, and all of a sudden on this last assignment he did really good. And he's like, I saw him talking to you, and I was like, I didn't try to give him the answers. Like, if he saw my paper, then whatever. Turns out, yeah, he absolutely like somehow read my sheet and wrote down my sheet. But it was really good it felt really good. Shitty for him, but it felt really good, to feel that way and being like, oh, somebody copied off of me for once. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, so college was great. I loved college. Like I said, I was 4.0 most of the time. I was on the dean's list every year, and
Really.
and yeah, so it was fun. And so I'll get into now the reason I didn't graduate and get my degree and actually
the elephant in the room.
Yeah, we'll
Austin
address
did well, but didn't graduate.
So getting back into talking about job experience being more important than a piece of paper. When I was getting towards the end, I had finished all of my technical classes, and so the only classes I had left were generals. Now, because I did so bad in high school, I had a lot of catching up to do, and I noticed it was going to be almost a full extra year of classes that I really didn't want to take. It was like, I want to say the one that really got me was 5 math classes I had to take to catch up.
Yeah, that's too fucking much.
And I was like, no. And like, I did have some generals while I was doing my tech classes. And it was like English. And I love college classes. I think they're so cool, the different variety of them. But
yeah, it's
I
cool
had
to pick.
one of my favorite like outside classes was history through pop culture.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
We listen to music, watch movies most of the time, and I remember my teacher cried one time because he got so into the song I was playing. But I actually really enjoyed that, and that should show you that it's like the same basis of a class that would be in high school.
It's just taken
but
up
it's
a notch.
Completely different.
It's taken up a notch. That's the fun part about if you do choose to go to college. That is the really fun part.
Mm-hmm.
Is outside of your like core, what you need to take for your degree. The generals,
there's so many.
As long as it fits into like you need one art, as long as it fits into that, you can take almost anything.
And mind you, if you're not really good at like art and drawing and stuff, take history through pop culture because that counted as an art class.
Well, and that's the funny thing too. You can kind of find loopholes like that.
Yeah, like that. That was a great loophole.
Like there was a college class I took that was, can't remember what the title of it was, but it was basically, I think it counted as a English and art or something. But it was, we read different books written only by women that were originally written in different languages and then translated.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
It's cool.
I read books I would have never read, and learn so much, and like we would spend every class like analyzing what
Yeah.
this paragraph meant, and
That's exactly how
it
the
was
history
so
through pop culture
cool.
class was.
Mhm.
Sorry, I just realized I got super off topic with
But
that.
that's the fun part. If you go to college, that is the fun part of it.
It's so much fun.
It is fun because you're with other people your age usually.
Yes.
You get to take almost any classes. You get to learn whatever the fuck you want. And that is why it's better than high school. But if you don't care about school, then don't go.
And you know what, too? I can say if you don't finish like I did, that's okay. Because I learned so much from college, even without... What?
Even if you don't finish, it's always there.
Yeah.
You can always go back.
Yeah, exactly.
College will always be there.
Yeah, I can still go back and
They're not just going to shut down all the fucking... It's always going to be there. So if you want to take 5 years, 2 years, 10 years... and explore yourself, go travel, go do whatever, go work. It will be there.
Yeah. I should probably get back to my point from like 15 minutes ago.
No, because I'm heated.
So I didn't finish because I had all these generals left to take. And at the same time, we were having a lot of companies come in and we're like, hey, we'll hire you, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't get it wasn't from them, but I had my resume out there, and I actually got contacted from a heating and air conditioning company in the area, and they were like, we see you're still in college. We're trying something new. Did you want to come work like part-time with us and get the experience? I was like, great. And so I did that, and while I was doing that and going to school at the same time, I started to realize, I'm like, looking at all these listings and stuff, especially when they started to show up at our school, I'm looking at the requirements. Almost none of them require a degree. And so that kind of always stuck in the back of my mind for like the year that I worked at this place. And then eventually I stopped working there because my classes just didn't line up right.
Yeah.
And I remember this. We were actually in class. Well, we were like in the shop area of it. And I got a call, and it was from one of those companies that I worked for that, whatever, they were like, we'll hire you full-time. Our starting wage is like $20 an hour.
Which at that time would have been good.
That was an $8 upgrade from the part-time thing I was doing.
Yeah.
And again, didn't require any degree. And everything I looked didn't require a degree. So I took the job, and I was like, I'm not going to do my generals. I have the experience, and it still actually worked on a resume. Like, I just didn't put that I had my diploma. I just said I went to school for it. Because technically, all of my tech classes were done.
I will also say, I haven't had a lot of jobs that they've asked to see my diploma. I've graduated. I have my diploma. Yeah. It's sitting somewhere around here.
Yep.
But I've only ever had one job ask for it, and it wasn't even upon...
Oh, yeah, that was after,
It was after I was already hired, and it was for some kind of promotion, or I think it was for a raise that I never fucking got.
Yeah, bullshit.
But I don't think I've ever... I might be wrong, but I don't think at any job I've ever had, they've asked to see it.
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah,
so you could technically lie.
Yeah, you could. Don't do it. But
don't do it, but...
Yeah, so I got the offer, and I took it, and I just worked full time for the time after that. Never went back. And I remember, because like a bunch of the kids that I was friends with, and then, well, I guess guys, because some of them were older than me, but they were like, oh, you're not coming back this year? I was like, no, I got an offer for this much. I don't need to go to school now. Like,
and it's like, it's much more valuable to be in the field actually learning than in a classroom.
A few of them followed me. They didn't finish. Didn't get their generals. They did exactly what I did. They finished their tech.
Okay.
Sorry if there's a weird cut through. The camera battery died.
Camera battery died. We had to switch the camera. Cool down the studio for a quick second.
Okay. So yeah. So I worked for a while, and then COVID hit. I kind of shaked things up a little bit. And during COVID, I was like, oh, I could go back to school. Might as well, because I kind of went, it's hard to say. I went away from HVAC, but I went to maintenance. So it was more a general.
It was generally in the same field, but just like...
Yeah, just a little bit different.
It was like, if this is HVAC, it was like, boop.
Yeah. And so once COVID hit, blah, blah, I was like, well, I want to try something different. And this goes again to, if you're not sure, just try something.
Yeah.
So I went to school for welding, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Like, I actually really loved welding. But the thing that I started to notice is looking at jobs for it is, at least in our area, it was either, yes, you can make a shitload of money, but you had to go to the oil fields, which 5-6 hours away from here.
Yeah, you have to travel for that.
It's a lot of travel. Or you work here where we are, and you're making like $13 an hour as an apprentice for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. So I did end up stopping that. But again, I did very good in school with that because I enjoyed it. And like, if you enjoy it, you're going to do good. And yeah, so it's just, it's hard because...
There's my diploma. Sorry.
Oh, your diploma's on the ground in the corner over there. Really shows how important it is.
So much debt, but it's on the ground.
But yeah, no, like I said, you can absolutely turn it around. It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
Just don't let shitty people take you down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've told you this before, but once I was going through school, and I think when I was just about finished, I had like a few dean's list and president's list things. What I did is, my really shitty counselor that I had, I took pictures of it and I sent it to her. And I was like, just so you know, yeah, I never got a response from this, but I said, just so you know, just because a student isn't doing super good doesn't mean you should take your focus off of them or something like that. Like, don't bring people down, because I literally said the way I was treated at this school made me feel like I was the lowest of low.
Garbage.
I decided to turn that around, and look, I did good because I actually had good people helping me. And yeah, I never got a response from that, but that was a really fun time.
That's a good feeling.
I really enjoyed that.
I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I ever went to my school counselor.
I only saw mine a few times.
I only went once, and it was because it was required to graduate to visit at your senior year, so you could talk about what your plans were after.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the one time I
went, and like it was me and I think my mom, because I think your parents had to go too.
Mm-hmm. I don't think mine did.
I remember my mom being there, but maybe she wasn't. Like, that was the only time I ever saw my counselors.
Yeah. It's really funny. I'm sure there are counselors out there that are really great and helpful.
Sure there are... I'm sure.
But personally, everyone that I've encountered of like the 5-6 that we had...
Yeah, my school had a bunch.
Good. They were not good. I remember her name, and I'd love to shout her out right now, but I'm not going to.
Speaking of going off of that, you could cut this if you want. I don't know if I ever told you this part, but I don't know. They were probably guidance counselors, but during school, my high school experience, I was depressed. And so I don't remember, I think it was my sophomore year. Might have been junior. My mom noticed, and she was like, what should we do?
Right.
So she contacted my guidance counselors to like get me an appointment during one of my classes that like Spanish or something that like I wouldn't, if I missed it was fine. They never sent me the notification to come to their office.
Oh, they suck.
Never. So I was so depressed, so anxious, like I was never gonna myself.
Yeah.
But what if I was?
Right.
They never sent me. Like they just like, and I told my mom that, and she was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
exactly. It's your job, but that's not relating. So if you want to cut it, you can. But
no.
Basically, all we're saying is, if you want a career path like being a pilot, or
I know it sounds good right in my head.
Or being a doctor or a nurse, if you have a career path you think that is for you, go to college.
Yeah.
Go to college.
Yep.
Whatever. But if you are like, I don't know if it's for me, I don't know what I want to do, you don't have to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to go. That's okay.
And if you're unsure, start at like a community college.
Yeah, take a couple fun classes there. Yeah. Take like, what is it usually?
History
like
4
classes a semester or something?
Yeah, I think typically. It's 4.
Take 4 general classes that sound interesting. Take a psych. Take take an art. Take
a few hours a week.
Yeah, just... And I think if you go part-time, it's like 2 classes.
Yeah, I think part-time you could do 2 classes, and that was it.
Just take a couple that sound interesting.
You don't have to get a degree.
No.
You don't. You can use it for experience because
yeah.
people, jobs will see. You could put that on a resume and say like, oh, I went to school for this, blah, blah, blah. And if you just tell them, oh, I didn't graduate, I was just trying it out and I just wanted some experience but wanted to work instead, it's fine.
Honestly, I've noticed more in interviews that I feel like they care a little bit more about your skills.
Oh, 100%.
Than your... Because the job I have right now, technically, I think it was a requirement to have a college degree.
Yeah.
But it wasn't... it didn't have to be in the field. It was just like, do you have a college degree? Do you have the skills that you need for this job?
Yeah.
And at this job, I think I'm making the most I've ever made.
Yeah. And, too, again, bouncing off of that, it's like, if you do go to school, for example, I went to school for heating and air conditioning. What I do now is not heating and air conditioning. I'm in the same general field because it's electrical work, but don't limit yourself. Don't say, oh, I only have, that's just since I'm talking about it, only having heating and air conditioning means I have to work for a heating and air conditioning company.
Translate.
You do not need to, because I can tell you a lot of my college skills for heating and air conditioning have absolutely transferred over to what I do now.
A lot of skills translate.
And it helps so much. And what's really funny is that now at work, I am also known as a fucking heating and air conditioning guy. And so anytime someone's got a problem with something, they come to me. And it's like, oh, yeah, I can refresh my memory a little bit.
Well, and it's still yes, in that field, things do change, and you do need to get certifications re-upped every 2 years or whatever you said it was.
There's a few.
But your mom or, your friend will call you every once in a while and be like, I don't know what the unit is called. My unit's acting up. Can you come just take a look at it?
Yeah.
To, give me a ballpark of what you think the problem is.
Yes, I get a lot of that.
Technically, you can't work on it, but you can look at it and be like, I think this is it. And then when they call the people... that can narrow in more.
Yeah. So, this happens quite a bit, actually. People ask me, most of the time I can narrow it down on the phone and I can say, this is probably your issue, but whatever. But, yeah, so I do have my EPA license, so I can technically work with refrigerant for the rest of my life, but, there are other things that have since expired, but my journeyman license? I don't even know. Anyways.
But you can, it's a skill that you'll have forever.
Don't feel like it's wasted. Because, like I said, even in the current job I have,
it translates.
It's not exactly the same, but I learned enough skills in college with these classes that I can apply it now, and I can think of a lot of things. Oh, how did I do this when I was in college? It's the same in theory, but it's different. But don't think that you wasted your time. You probably didn't.
Yeah, and that I went to school for social work, and honestly, social work to its core is working with other people, interpersonal relationships, one-to-one. And am I doing social work now? No.
Right.
But it still translates into the job I'm doing now. I work in an office. I have to communicate with people one-to-one all
with
day.
outside people. Yeah. Exactly.
It still translates. I still use those kinds of skills.
Yeah.
Every day. So it's just it's not wasted. It's beneficial, but...
Well, even the technical stuff of handling tools. How to use certain tools. I can still use that now. 90% of anywhere I will probably work in the future, I will have to use that. So it's sure, it's not HVAC, but it still absolutely was experience and super good experience. And that's just important,
Basically, at the end of the day, all we're trying to say is, if you want to go to college, go to college.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go, you don't have to go. And that's okay. Don't let anybody pressure you into it, because it is a big decision. And it's a decision you should make consciously after you've done a lot of research on it.
Rocky, what college you went to? Stinky University?
You went to Stinkyville University? Oh my goodness! He got a degree in stinking up the joint. But
anyways.
Thank you for watching this week's episode. Hopefully something we've said has made an impact on you and it's helped you make some kind of decision. And
if you're unsure and you're having second thoughts, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, our email is listed down below. Or our Instagram is listed down below. TikTok, so if you want to send a DM to either one of those, I probably will respond in 30 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
I am always on my phone. That's bad. I don't care.
And we both love helping people.
Yeah.
Recently, we had a situation where someone reached out to us and was like, your story about, what were we talking about? Oh, the job stuff.
Yeah, the job story. It was someone I used to work with.
Mm-hmm.
The job episode, we talked about it's okay to job hop. If you hate your job, fucking leave. But this person I used to work with at an old job reached out to me and we were talking about the podcast and she was like, I just want to let you know that the stuff that you said about that episode, it really helped me, and I left a job I hated, and if I hadn't had that sign of seeing your guys' episode, I probably wouldn't have. And it was just like...
And if that's the only thing we get out of doing this show, I'm happy, because I love helping people, and do not ever feel stupid, because I've been there. Like, I was terrible, and then I turned that around, and I love to help, so don't feel weird. It's okay.
If you need advice, if you have a question, ever... If you just want to say hi, you can DM us on here. You can email us, Instagram, TikTok. It's all down below.
Show up at our house if you want to.
No, please don't do that. Our dog will get so upset.
Yeah, he's real scary, I promise.
But subscribe, like, comment down below. College? Question mark? Do you like that? College? Rookie, college?
Come on, Rocky, say goodbye to the camera.
Rocky, say goodbye, camera. Rocky, say goodbye. Turn around.
Goodbye.
Okay, he's scared.
Say bye, Rocky.
He said goodbye. Goodbye.